Disney isn't accepting the apology from the lead actress of one of its most expensive projects, Snow White. And the timing couldn't be worse. There are less than 50 days until the live-action remake hits theaters.
And I can only hope that despite my flaws, and despite my cracks and my breaks, and there are many of them, that at every premiere and everything I do, people will wait in line to see.
This was yet another overly dramatic and insincere apology, something she often does for fans and employers. Normally it works, but this time, both Disney and the fans weren't buying it. Instead, they shut her down and told her to step back. Disney had already reached its limit with her, but when she refused to stay quiet despite multiple apologies, they decided they'd had enough.
Because it does feel like Disney's finally reeling in some of these freaks, but they deserve all of the backlash that they're going to bring them.
Remember, they already tried damage control with Rachel Zegler after her tirades against the original.
Disney seems to be pulling back on some of its more controversial figures, but the backlash they're facing is entirely self-inflicted. They already had to do damage control over Rachel Zegler's tirades against the original Snow White, and now the live-action remake is in a bizarre situation. Normally, for a $300 million blockbuster, you'd expect an intense marketing push as the release date approaches. But instead, Disney has gone eerily silent. The last trailer dropped ages ago, and since then nothing. No major promotions, no cast interviews, just complete radio silence. And for a company that typically starts hyping up its big films at least 6 months in advance, this is unheard of. Rumors are swirling that Disney is actually trying to distance itself from Rachel Zegler. Reports suggest they weren't thrilled with some of her past comments, leading to speculation that she's been sidelined from promotional appearances. While that's not officially confirmed, it gained traction after Forbes published a scathing article tearing into both Disney and Zegler. When a major outlet like Forbes starts calling you out, it's not something you can just brush off. The article suggests Disney's hesitance to put Zegler front and center might be due to their frustration with her behavior. But beyond that, the perception of Snow White is only getting worse. The film already had an uphill battle, and now Disney's handling of it is adding fuel to the fire. One of the biggest points Forbes highlights is Disney's own contradiction. Just 18 months ago, Bob Iger made a huge promise. Disney would step back from culture wars and refocus on storytelling that welcomes everyone, regardless of race, gender, or politics. He admitted that, at some point, Disney creatives lost sight of their main job: to entertain. Iger pointed to Black Panther and Coco as examples of films that carried meaningful messages while still prioritizing great storytelling. His point? A film can celebrate diversity without making it the entire focus. But despite that promise, many believe Disney has done the opposite. The company has championed diversity on a surface level but has been accused of shutting out differing perspectives, leading to even more division instead of unity. With Snow White already facing skepticism and now suffering from a near-total lack of promotion, Disney might be bracing for a box office disaster.
Become a star. She cares more about her activism than she does about the entertainment product and what they're going to make off this. But there's no doubt in my mind, Disney told her she needs to apologize after everything that's happened.
Rachel Zegler's role in this controversy is becoming impossible to ignore. According to Forbes, her public statements directly contradict what Disney now claims to stand for. While promoting Snow White, she took a strong political stance on a highly sensitive global issue, one that has already deeply divided audiences both in the US and internationally. And when you're the face of a film already under intense scrutiny, making such remarks only fuels more backlash. Now, Disney finds itself in a tough spot. They can't just cut ties with Zegler. She is Snow White in this remake, but her statements have created yet another wave of controversy the studio likely wanted to avoid. The fact that Disney hasn't actively pushed her in promotional material, despite typically spotlighting their lead actors, only adds to speculation that they're trying to contain the damage. But this isn't just about one actress making controversial comments. It's about what this entire situation represents for Disney. The company publicly promised to move away from political messaging and refocus on storytelling that unites audiences. Yet, with their Snow White star now at the center of a major controversy, Disney's stance appears inconsistent. If they were truly committed to keeping politics out of their brand, wouldn't they have stepped in earlier to prevent this? Zegler's remarks, especially her criticism of Republican voters, have only intensified the backlash. While she's fully entitled to her opinions, it's clear that such statements alienated a large portion of moviegoers. Whether intentional or not, her comments have further damaged the perception of Snow White and fueled the narrative that Disney is failing to stay neutral. If the studio has truly scaled back her involvement in marketing, it wouldn't be surprising, and it would directly contradict the supposed shift in direction Bob Iger promised.
What do you mean by that?
I just mean that it's no longer 1937, and we absolutely wrote a Snow White that is
not going to be saved by the prince.
She's not going to be saved by the prince, and she's not going to be dreaming about true love. She's dreaming about becoming the leader she knows she can be.
What makes this situation even worse for Disney is that, according to Forbes, things had actually been looking up for the company. After years of underperforming films and audience fatigue, they were finally regaining momentum. Massive upcoming titles like Deadpool 3, Moana 2, and Inside Out 2 positioned Disney for a box office resurgence, largely because they struck the right balance, embracing diversity without making it the centerpiece of their marketing. Disney seemed to have learned its lesson: focus on entertaining audiences rather than lecturing them. That's what makes the Snow White disaster so baffling. Just as Disney was rebuilding goodwill, this film is threatening to undo all that progress. The timing couldn't be worse. The industry is stabilizing. Audiences are returning to theaters in huge numbers, and the last thing Disney needs is another polarizing release that sparks controversy instead of excitement. If Snow White flops, especially for the reasons people fear, it won't just be another box office failure. It'll be a glaring reminder of Disney's past missteps at a time when they were supposed to be moving forward. Meanwhile, other studios are raking in billions with films people want to see, while Disney risks being the odd one out yet again. And the worst part? This was entirely avoidable. According to Forbes, Disney has seemingly cracked a winning formula with Moana 2 and Deadpool 3, movies with diverse casts and modern storytelling that don't alienate audiences by turning them into ideological battlegrounds. They're simply fun, engaging films made for everyone. The core issue with Snow White is that its marketing has never been about the movie itself. From the beginning, it's been about what the film represents, its casting choices, its reimagined story, its supposed modern approach. But at no point has there been a strong push to convince audiences that it's actually a good film. And while Disney may have wanted to pivot the marketing to emphasize its entertainment value, they're now trapped. If their lead actress keeps making divisive statements, even a new strategy could backfire spectacularly. That's the danger Disney faces right now. If Snow White becomes another cultural battleground instead of just a movie, it could set them back even further, completely out of step with the rest of the industry's resurgence. What do you think about all the Snow White drama? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more updates on this unfolding mess.